it is not helpful to mislead people into thinking that such an option exists to put off elections indefinitely and for the President to form a new government when this goes against the Constitution.
Dr. Tan Cheng Bock has suggested that the President can exercise her soft power and form a caretaker government with some of the current MPs. Then, Dr. Tan says, call fresh elections when COVID-19 is no longer a crisis. From the standpoint of the Constitution, what is the government's position on such a caretaker proposal?
I've sought the advice of the Attorney General's chambers on whether this can be done. The advice of the AGC is that to delay an election beyond the required date in such a manner is unconstitutional. The only circumstances when the election can be put off beyond the required date is when a state of emergency is declared. Although Singapore has weathered many crises since our independence, we have never extended a government's term beyond the constitutional limit. And Singapore is one of the only newly independent Commonwealth countries to regularly hold elections and has never declared a state of emergency since 1965. Declaring an emergency and putting off elections indefinitely is not a precedent we should set lightly. Even if the President proclaims an emergency, given that the incumbent cabinet remains in office during an emergency, there is no legal basis or practical need for the President to form a new government. Even if there is a caretaker government under a state of emergency, it would by definition be a caretaker. It would be hobbled by the fact that it lacks the explicit mandate of voters and would therefore not be in a position to take major decisions on behalf of Singaporeans. And this is the reason why Constitutional Convention requires that a caretaker government not make any far-reaching or long-term measure. So this is the fundamental problem. Just when we need a government with a clear mandate to pull out all the stops in a crisis, to implement strong mitigation measures, to mobilize our resources and reserves, to implement strong economic stabilization measures to save jobs and livelihoods, and to steer the country through the COVID-19 crisis, a caretaker government would not have a mandate to do so. So how can this be in the best interest of the country and our people? To suggest this shows a disregard for or lack of understanding of the Constitution, putting forward constitutionally unworkable proposals at a time of serious national crisis can only confuse and mislead Singaporeans to the detriment of Singapore and Singaporeans.